Hey, Newsa-Cast listeners, you can find every episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Please help us grow by subscribing or sharing the Newsa-Cast with friends, or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Now let's get this show on the road.
Cooking for Brett Favre, I just remember him just kind of hobbling in. I'm like, how is this man going to play football, be on a football field in 3 hours from now? Like, I just could not wrap my head around it. Yeah, just limping. And I'm like, man, I can't believe that, he's going to be playing this afternoon. And he did.
Welcome to the Newsa-Cast. What is a Newsa-Cast? It's where we bring local folk stories to life through conversation.
Welcome to episode 16 of the Newsa-Cast. 16, sweet 16, Joe.
Sweet 16, Tosh. That was a great age, right? Learn to drive. We're learning to drive.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Learn to drive, learn to run into things, whatever, whichever one it is.
Just a soft bump, it's all good.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a scratch. It doesn't matter.
That's right. Doesn't matter. I'll wipe right out.
Yeah. Buff it out. That's no problem. 16 episodes though, Joe. I think this is a little bit to celebrate. It's a sweet number, sweet 16.
Yes.
And we've had some really good episodes so far. I'm pretty happy with the quality of individuals we're getting and the stories that they can tell. It's been amazing.
I completely agree. And our way to celebrate Tosh is to talk food. And that's what we're going to do in this episode. It's with Charlie out of Fox City Stadium. He's the executive chef with the Tibmer Rattlers. And Tosh and I think is kind of come through, I think, pretty clearly in these 16 episodes. We like to eat. We like food.
Yeah, kind of a foodie a little bit. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Charlie's a great episode. I think people are going to enjoy listening to him. And we'll obviously get to everything he's about and the Tibmer Rattlers and his story, just like we talk about the stories of every single one of the individuals that we have on. It's been fantastic to just get to know a little bit more about Northeast Wisconsin and the world around us.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's becoming a broken record. We say it every week, but the people that we're talking to, the people that we're discovering, just the conversations we're having from folks that literally live next door, an experience in my life that I absolutely love. I'm fascinated by the people that live around here. I hope that's come through in these podcasts, that we have some really, really cool people that we're finding and bringing their story out to you. And I hope you enjoy it.
No Packer game this week, Joe. So
no, I was enjoying this weekend, Tosh. I was out walking Hazel, my Basset Hound, and I was thinking to myself that you can smell fall in the air, can't you? Just the fires in the distance. It was a little bit damp today, after all that rain that we had. And we talked barbecue with Charlie, and you can smell that in the distance. It's just that smell of fall, Tosh. I love it.
Yeah, I love getting the smoker going in the fall. The smoke just kind of sits because of the dampness, kind of sits a little bit closer. It doesn't go off all over the place.
Right.
Get that great smell going, when you're cooking some pork shoulder or butt and brisket for like 12 or 14 hours. It's fantastic. This time of year is it is weather wise one of my favorite times of the year, temperature wise. I mean, I could handle like 60s, 70s all year round.
I agree with you, Tosh. This weather is perfect, other than Friday night when we had all the high school football games. It was a little rough this Friday as we saw the high school football season came to an end, right? Week 9. And now we move into playoff time. And
we have some good football this Friday. Some good playoff football. And now it's when it matters. It's you win, you're in. You lose, season's done.
Yeah, absolutely. Win or go home. And it's exciting stuff.
I think it's a great episode. You guys are going to enjoy the enthusiasm that Charlie has. And we hope you enjoy our segments as well. We have that old look at new and the forgot. I'm screwing it up already, Joe. You might as well take it now.
Hey, it's forgetting and I'm never forgotten. Well, I even screwed it up. It's forgotten and I'm never forgetting.
Absolutely. And if you enjoy this podcast, please, wherever you get your podcast, hit subscribe. Check out our socials, whether it's X, whether it's Instagram. Check out YouTube. Any of those places, and you hit subscribe, check us out, continue to allow us to grow as well. right, Newsa-Cast listeners, it's time for the look at history that we like to do here on the Newsa-Cast, and it is that segment called Old Look at New. So, Joe, I'm gonna lead it off. I think this one's pretty relevant. So, back in 1968, October 16th, 1968, the Milwaukee Bucks played their very first game.
Oh, really?
Yep.
With that,
they had an 89-84 loss to the Chicago Bulls.
was that at the Mecca?
That was at the Milwaukee Arena. So I don't know. I can't remember if that was the Mecca or if that was pre-Mecca.
Sure. So that you said 68?
1968. Yep.
Yeah, nice. So thankfully that was a little bit before our time, but when did Lou Alcindor join?
That was after. So their starting lineup at that time was Wayne Embry at center, Fred Hetzel, and Len Chappelle at forward, John McLaughlin, and Guy Rogers in the backcourt.
Well, the only one I recognize and is still around, Johnny Mack. Man, he was one of the all-time smooth outside shooters, but I remember him, and he still does it. I mean, he was you and I have talked about radio guys, throughout the show. Well, John McLaughlin, one of the all-time greats. When he was with Jim Irwin, man, I used to listen to so many Bucks games on the radio. Those two guys were so good.
Yeah, they did not get their first win of the season until the sixth game that year, and it was a 134-118 victory over the Pistons.
Yeah, nice. Beat up on Detroit.
Gotta love beating up on Detroit too.
I love that. Always. Remember the Bad Boys?
The Bad Boys, yeah. The
Lambeer.
Watching the Last Dance, beating up on Jordan.
Yeah.
And boy, did they beat up on Jordan. Wow.
I mean, it's all
crazy.
Right. Like all out roundhouse, just hooks and body blows and elbows and
absolutely
all out brawls, no doubt.
Yeah, you know what? I think the Bucks have obviously made some incredible moves, and they're going to be fun to watch this year. And hopefully they can swing through a deep playoff run and maybe bring home another world championship.
Yeah, let's go to Vegas, Tosh. We'll put a little money on that.
There you go.
Well, Tosh, when we started this segment, we kind of wanted to look at interesting things maybe that we stumble across in our everyday lives as we look at northeastern Wisconsin. And one park in particular that I always just walk through, it's near my house, and when I take my dog Hazel on a walk, it's Peabody Park. It's a city park. Perhaps it's a little teaser for an upcoming episode that we're going to have with the City of Appleton Park and Rec director. But it got me to thinking that Appleton just has some absolute, and all the communities do, but Appleton in particular has some fantastic city parks. Peabody Park, just carved right out of a ravine.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I think it's not a very exciting, it's not a very historical old look at new, but I think as we take a look at new, maybe just kind of reflect and I'd say we're pretty lucky to have the park system that we have, and really throughout the Fox cities. But
if I'm not mistaken, though, Joe, and I couldn't tell you what it is off the top of my head. Maybe when you're going for a walk, you can figure this out. But isn't there a historical marker in Peabody Park?
Well, there is, Tosh, and I happen to have a picture of it. The city of Appleton built it in 1971.
There you go.
Yeah, the development of the park was made possible through the funds donated by the late George F. Peabody.
All right.
So George L. Buckley was the mayor of Appleton at that time.
Okay. I do remember that, and it was never confirmed, but there was a possible bear sighting in Peabody Park about 10 or 15 years ago. So
I would say at least once a month, once every 6 weeks, I see deer walking down right down Pacific Street. I've had them come almost right up to my window. You can see where maybe they hunkered down. There's a spot in my backyard where I'm pretty sure some deer probably hunkered down for the night.
Okay.
And even as you walk down along the river there, Green Bay Road and things like that, I mean, I've seen deer in the ravines all the time. So, yeah,
it's pretty crazy. I mean, I don't think people realize the amount of wildlife that is in the city itself. I mean, there's fox, you name it. There are coyotes that live in the city of Chicago.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty amazing how wildlife can adapt to populated areas. And it's not surprising to me that you see deer.
Well, there's possum,
Yeah, absolutely.
There's all kinds. Well, definitely
there's
raccoons.
Everything.
Yeah.
I
agree. We talked earlier in this episode about the dog walk, the podcast down in Chicago that you and I like, and they talk about the rat issues in like New York. Like, could you imagine? That would just. Oof.
Yeah, and they're having those same issues in Green Bay right now.
Oh,
having some rat issues as well. So.
I heard that. Well. Better them than us, Tosh. Better them than us.
Absolutely. They can keep those. I do not need rats around for sure. So
no, exactly.
Well, that's pretty cool. We do have a great park system. As a good, it's good that our community has invested in parks and invested in the system that we have. It's definitely one of those highlights for the community.
Yeah, as you're walking around, take a look at your park here in northeastern Wisconsin, or otherwise known as New, right, Tosh?
There you go. Absolutely. You never know what you're going to see.
All right. Well, there's our old look at New, and play along with us next time.
Hey, Newsa-Cast listeners. We are lucky enough to dive into the depths of Tibmer Rattlers and Fox City Stadium. We're going to sit here and have a little conversation with Charlie Behrmann and learn a little bit about what goes into being an executive chef at a minor league stadium.
Absolutely, Tosh. I learned a lot. I mean, we all love Fox City Stadium. We've been talking about gems of the Fox Cities. It takes a lot of work for that experience to go to the ballpark, and we get a behind-the-scenes look at the food, at the preparation, and how they actually put these events on. And you're right. Charlie is a great guy. It was an awesome, awesome conversation.
It's changed a little bit since you were at Goodland Field, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, that was 3 lifetimes ago. That was a long, long time ago, but absolutely right, Tosh. It's a little bit different than good old Goodland Field.
Yeah, it's great, and you get to know Charlie a little bit, coming from Manitowoc and Fox Valley Technical College, and also, as we found out, he did some cooking for the Red Smith banquet.
Yes. And Brett Favre.
So yeah, pay attention to that. We hope you enjoy this episode. And as always, if you continue to enjoy these episodes, check us out wherever you get your podcasts, and also check out those social medias.
Absolutely. Enjoy. So you work in minor league baseball, you're the executive chef for the Wisconsin Tibmer Rattlers. You're in minor league baseball. I mean, that's pretty much how you guys roll as well. I mean, every day it's clean slate. You're just defining the day as it comes along.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So, talking about a typical day in baseball, so obviously we have 66 home games, and we're on the road just as many. And every day is different. I love my job because I'll go in on, one homestand, and it's completely different the next time that we play the same team. From week to week, it's something new, something exciting. So yeah, a typical day is depending on what we have going on. A lot of what we do is promotions. So every Tuesday night is bang for your buck. You get $2 sodas, $2 hot dogs. Wednesdays we do different sponsorships for, I think that's our goal, or our Silver Foxes ticket package. So if you're over 55, you can get a ticket and a bucket hat, and you get a hot dog or a brat. I think you get a beverage. So we have something different every day. Thursday is brats. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we really don't have a ton of specials, but those are your days when families are going to come out and come watch a game. So you might sell a whole bunch of hot dogs and cheeseburgers those days. You really have no idea.
Sure.
And we always try and keep our menu creative. So we always have, we have a nacho stand where you can get a nacho al grande served in a baseball batting helmet. We have the flat top where you can get the grilled cheese bacon cheeseburger. Up in our Fox Club, you can get a elote. You can get.
I love that, and you guys are so super creative. How do you guys come up with those ideas? I mean, what's your process like? I mean, do you and Poobie sit down and just brainstorm, let's do this, or is it a group effort? What's the process?
Yeah, so we have an awesome food and beverage team, but our whole front office staff is really, they go to games and they'll see, they'll go to, an opposing team and they'll see an idea and be like, hey, you should try this. But yeah, our food and beverage team is awesome with coming up with ideas. And there is, 4 of us who work the baseball side and food and beverage. And we have interns that are super helpful as well. But we just look at different menus. We look at what's going to be, people always want that next big thing. And we always try and think of that. One thing that definitely helps us is our fan food fight. And I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. I don't know if all your listeners are, but what we do is we let fans come up with different ideas of things they want to see at the ballpark. We'll get 70 to 100 submissions. Our assistant food and beverage director, Megan, she handles all that. And Chris is my executive sous chef, and he started it a couple of years ago. And I mean, it's worked great for us. And we'll narrow it down to the top 5 and let our fans vote on it one more time. And we'll put that item on our menu. And we've had things that were on that are still on our menu 4 or 5 years later. So the fans actually come up with a ton of great ideas. And we'll take maybe somebody that was second or third that we saw on that list. And maybe it's not quite how we're going to do it exactly, but we'll kind of use that as a segue into a new menu item as well.
Are those the best days at the ballpark when you're just sitting in the kitchen developing those ideas and taste testing?
Yeah, so taste testing is a big part. Usually February, January, February, we'll go and we'll have our vendors do a tasting for us to come up with some different ideas. And we went to visit Breakbush. They're here in Wisconsin. They're a chicken company, primarily for hotels and restaurants and different things like that. But they had a tasting for us. And I remember I went into it and first course came out and I ate the whole thing. And Poobie's like, slow down, man. There's like 5 more courses. I'm like, oh, I'm hungry. I didn't eat breakfast. I don't think I finished half of anything else. I was just like, yeah, I did not plan very well for that. So,
roll you right out of there.
Yeah, those are fun days when you just get to taste test different items. And there's a lot of really cool, unique things, especially right here in Wisconsin that you don't know about.
Do you use try to use like all local vendors or within, a certain area?
Yeah, so what we try and do, I do as much as I can. Obviously, so through our food purveyor, we get in what we can, but we work a lot with sponsorships. So Shermake is our hot dog and brat sponsor. The burgers I get from Malott in Green Bay, they might source them in from outside the state, but I know that when I see that delivery driver, he's getting paid by us. It's not going to, somebody from California or whatever, but it's really nice to use local as much as we can. Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious what's a typical day? What time do you get to the ballpark to get prepared and get ready for a game?
So typical game, our games are at 6:40 p.m. I'll get in about 9:15. And that's usually my time to I have prep cooks coming in the morning to set, to do fruit trays. We have 6 suites upstairs in the Fox Club. Yeah. We have left field suites, brand new this year, which is a set menu on the left field, and they feed about 20 people for each one. We have different all-you-can-eat areas, different picnic areas. So we'll come in at 9. We'll get that cold food ready to go. I'll kind of organize, get everything ready for the night, stage my, if we have hot dogs, we'll put them in pans. We'll get that kind of stuff ready. I do cook for the team before and after the game, the Tibmer Rattlers before and after the game. So I usually get my team meals ready if they have wraps or if they have sandwiches. I work with a dietitian from the Brewers to get that menu put together. Usually in there's a little bit of desk work, ordering. I'll go through and I'll make sure I have enough product for the next day or two. And depending on the day, I might order every single day for the whole week. Some weeks I can get 3 orders, and depending on how busy we're going to be, usually April and May is kind of a little slower, so it's every other day. But yeah, during June, July, August, I'm getting deliveries Monday through Friday. So
you're also preparing for like banquets, events up in the Fox Club as well, right? That's under your jurisdiction?
Correct.
Yeah.
Not always year round. I would say probably 10 times out of the year we'll have a baseball game and a banquet upstairs. And those can
Okay.
be long days because sometimes it's a breakfast, so I'll be in at 5 or 6, and then we'll try and leave a little earlier as well. But yeah, about 1 or 2 o'clock the show begins. Gates open at 5 o'clock, so we like to have food ready 15 minutes before then. So it's heating up all the food for bunning, heating up all the food for the different picnic areas and things like that. And um, then once the gates open, it's really like you said, fend for yourself and hope for the best. Hope you have enough food prepared because the nice thing is Tuesdays, I know I'm going to sell a whole lot of hot dogs. On Thursdays, I'm going to sell a lot of brats. But the rest of the week, it's really hit or miss. I don't have a perfect system to plan for it. I just kind of hope for the best, and we usually cut it pretty close. We think we do a good job. We have 2 different kitchens that we work out of. We communicate a lot. There's a lot of communication behind the scenes that just checking and see how much food we have, make sure we don't have too much.
Now, Charlie, you went to Fox Valley Technical College and learned how to become an executive chef. I mean, that's. Can you talk to us a little bit about your road? Why cooking? Have you always cooked? Have you always just had a passion for it?
So my grandmother, on my mom's side, she was a home ec teacher. And that was when home ec was sewing and it was cooking and it was a little of everything. And I was born after she had retired. But I always remember going for birthday dinners and family dinners and just having a beautiful array of food. Like think Julia Child almost.
Sure.
That's kind of what I remember growing up. Was
Yeah,
like
me
it would
too.
be all the dishes and everything was homemade, and even the chicken stock would be homemade. And my aunt took that over kind of when she was older. So I just remember always being around that. And then in high school and middle school, I just really liked to cook. Like if I made mac and cheese, I would add something to it to make it taste better.
Mhm.
Like where it's simple, but a little upscale.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was in high school, and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I mean, I loved cooking. I didn't know if I wanted to go on the management side or just cooking. I did just culinary arts. I went to the tech. I moved here from Manitowoc, Wisconsin, and I absolutely love, I love the school. I'm stay involved with different groups, with different classes. I'll speak once a semester to the Intro to Hospitality class.
Nice.
And just stay involved with that. So yeah, I mean, it started off as a passion, and then once I got to culinary school and worked in restaurants, I knew that's what I loved to do. And I had some really great mentors along the way and really great chefs that I worked with that kind of trained me, and now I'm able to be in that position where I can train others as well. And it's awesome. It's awesome to see people who would probably not be chefs in their future, but just have a passion for food and for cooking and just like what they do. So
Right. Is there a difference in being on a sports side of cooking, I guess, so to speak, or, just having your own restaurant? Do you like it better where you're at now? I guess, what are the differences between the two?
yeah, so I always tell people when I talk to the classes, I said I never, when I went to school, would have thought I'd be at a minor league baseball stadium, but I loved working. I loved baseball. Like I love baseball. I love the sport. And I think it's a perfect fit for me. I always tell Rob, I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna leave. I love it here. I think I'm like, what would there's nothing I'd want to do rather do than be at the ballpark.
Sure.
It's a beautiful day. I mean, there's someone early at like 6 or 7 for breakfast, and the sun is just rising over the the lights, and it's just a beautiful way to start your day, and I love that. And yeah, I mean, I would always dream of opening my own restaurant and having it be fine dining and things like that. But when you work in kitchens long enough and you see, oh, the oven broke down, it's $5,000 to fix it.
Right.
Oh, the cooler went out. That's $8,000. It's like that adds up really quickly.
Sure.
And having your own restaurant, while it's cool and there's a lot of things that you can do that maybe you can't do anywhere else, I think that's a real concern as well. So
just talk about your creativity, and we touched on it earlier, but you've got to be in an environment where the ideas can just come spitting out of your head and just go.
Yeah, and this last year we tried doing some different ideas to kind of be creative. We have theme nights. So like Ghostbuster night, my sous chef Chris came up with this awesome idea to do a Ghostbuster burger, where it was ghost pepper cheese, it was Cajun mayo on a burger, and then I think he had one other jalapenos on there as well. So to kind of go with that theme, the Ghostbuster theme. And we've tried a few different things as well, and they didn't go over as great. I don't know if that was just the fans didn't know where to get it. But yeah, the creativity is probably one of my favorite parts of the job. I love that off season this time now where we can start thinking of ideas for next year. And Poopy came to me the other day with an idea, and I'm like, we have everything here for that. Why didn't we do this 5 years ago? And it's like you get an idea, you come up with something cool, and you're like, we should have been doing this for a long time now.
Sure.
And to kind of tie in, so one thing I like to do is I got involved with competitive barbecue and competitive steak cooking.
Yeah.
So yesterday I actually had my very first steak cook-off, and I did these ancillaries, which are kind of like side competitions. They give you a theme, and you just have to create the best thing you can with that theme. So it was cheese curds and desserts, and I placed top 10 in both of those, which was pretty exciting because I like that creativity aspect to it. So on steak I didn't do as good, but it was still fun.
You came out of tech. What was your first job?
So when I was at the tech, I worked at the Paper Valley, and I did my internship there, and I stayed there for a few years. I think I was there in about 8 years in total. I did everything from worked in the clubhouse, worked breakfast on the weekends. I worked in Lombardi's. I helped with banquets. So I was able to do pretty much anything there. And then my chef had left, and I followed him to the Mark in De Pere.
Okay.
What I did there was I took over the dashboard dining. I don't know if you remember that. Basically, all the cold food sandwiches that Quick Trip has, express gas stations did those as well, and we did all the food for. So I worked with the UA. I worked with I worked with the local UCA inspector because we started doing pizzas, which had to be inspected. So it was a really unique experience. So I had to come up with some different, food safety, HACCP procedures and different things like that I never would have thought I'd ever have to do. But it was really cool to see that on the back end. Then I was at the Oshkosh Convention Center for about 2 or 3 years, again with the same chef as his sous chef. And the opening for a Tibmer Rattlers sous chef came up, and I'm like, hey, like I said, I love baseball. I worked there 1 season part-time in the kitchen, and I enjoyed it. So I applied, and I got it. And shortly after the chef had left, and I was the executive chef about 7-8 years now. So
I love to cook. Unfortunately, my education was the movie Ratatouille on how a kitchen works. You got to explain to me, what is a sous chef? What is his responsibility?
Yeah, so there's the hierarchy of the kitchen, and this goes back, to Escoffier, one of the greatest French chefs ever, where he kind of developed this hierarchy where you have your executive chef is the one that's in charge of overseeing everybody. The executive chef typically is not in the kitchen, but is taking care of the desk work, taking care of the ordering, taking care of the paperwork, the scheduling, the recipes, and just doing that kind of stuff. It's a lot different now where you're I'm very hands-on. I'm in the kitchen from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. usually on a baseball day. Sous chef is the one that would normally be on the floor, managing the people, making sure everybody's doing their job, making the prep lists, tasting the sauces to make sure that it's the proper flavor. And then there's other chefs below that as well. But yeah, my sous chef, he's the one that runs all the picnics. So he takes care of staffing and takes care of the picnics and everything like that. So he's more in that executive role as opposed to I would be more of like the hands-on sous chef. So
Sure. No, it's fascinating. People don't realize the hot dogs are great, but there's a lot of steps to get that hot dog into your mouth.
There sure are, yeah.
When you were at the Paper Valley, did you deal with football teams as well at that time?
Yeah, I sure did. It was actually kind of cool. I got to see Brett Favre when he was a Viking and a Jet.
Nice.
So I got to cook for him one time, and I just remember one morning being down there making omelets. I usually would do the omelet station on Sunday morning before they left. So they would come in, I think it was Friday night or Saturday afternoon. I can't remember exactly, but if it was a day or two. But their late night snack when they arrive would be spaghetti and meatballs and pizzas and chicken wings and chicken tenders. And I mean, it's like a late night snack for them was, the typical person's like lunch or dinner. So I just remember that was always funny. But cooking for Brett Favre, I just remember him just kind of hobbling in. I'm like, how is this man going to play football, be on a football field in 3 hours from now? Like, I just could not wrap my head around it. Just seeing him. And, he was towards the end of his career and just how banged up he was.
Yeah.
And, just limping. And I'm like, man, I can't believe that, he's going to be playing this afternoon. And he did. And I don't know if he had a good game or not. I think they won. But
what's Favre's order? What did he go with?
Yeah, he was a ham and cheese omelet.
Yeah.
Some of those guys load them up and they want egg whites in them or fresh cracked eggs. And a lot of them too, just the kind of plain Jane ham and cheese and keep it simple.
Old school. Love it.
So you talked a little bit about the competition. I love smoking stuff, and I've only been in like one competition. It was super, super small in Manitowoc. It was at one of the bars.
Okay.
But explain that a little bit. How did you get into the competition side now?
So I got in a competition actually. Chef Jeff at Fox Valley Tech.
Sure.
He's part of the barbecue club, and he used to be a competitor in KCBS, which is Kansas City Barbecue Society. So he was a competitor in that with Chef's Gone Grilling. And he's like, hey, come out to a meeting sometime. They have these barbecue club meetings. And I'm like, all right, I'll go to one. And this guy walks in. Everybody's like, oh, they're screaming. I'm like, what's the big deal? He had just gotten back from Texas. He won the world championship in steak cooking. And he walks in with this big ring and this wrestling belt that they made for him. And I'm like, this is crazy. So, it's kind of piqued my interest. Like, I was just a backyard cook and talking to these guys week in and week out. I mean, it was so cool to hear their stories. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to do ribs. I can cook decent ribs at home. And I did terrible. Competition is way different than what you feed your friends and family at a barbecue. But I still enjoy it. I still like perfecting my methods. And, I learned something the first time. I did another competition and, did okay, did a little bit better. But yeah, it's something, again, I never thought I would do and enjoy so much. It's actually relaxing. I have people ask all the time, like, you cook for a living, isn't it? Like, aren't you tired of it? And no, not. It's something I love to do, and it's almost more. Yeah, it's more relaxing than it is work. Until you're at the competition and you're like 5 minutes till you have to have it turned in, and you're a little further behind than you want to be. Then it's a little stressful, but otherwise it's very enjoyable.
That's awesome.
How many competitions a year do you do?
So this was my first year getting into it. I did 2 this year, 2 KCBS and 1 steak. So next year I'm hoping maybe 4 or 5. There's some guys who they'll take off of work on a Friday. They'll leave Thursday night to do a competition on Friday. They'll do a competition on Saturday and be back home on Sunday. They'll do 2 or 3 in the weekend, and they travel all over Wisconsin, Midwest, Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota. I try and keep it local. If there's a local competition, I'll try and do that one, but I'm not at the level yet where I want to do, 30 or 40 a year. There's some people who do it, every weekend.
Do you guys bring your own smokers with you? I'm a novice at this. I've never been to one.
Same thing I was going to ask.
So for competition, it is you bring your own smoker, bring your own grill, and some guys, I mean, they'll have a huge trailer. They'll have a grill that you could probably put a whole pig on, and I mean, it's impressive some of these setups that they have. I have a little PK grill that I do my ribs and my steak on right now, till I get a few more. I mean, some people have 10, 15, 20 in their collection of grills, and not quite ready for that, but it's you bring your own grill. KCBS, you bring your own meat. For steak competitions, the meat gets provided.
Okay.
And it was really cool to see the steak competition. I actually learned to judge as well. The whole idea behind it was these guys who came up with the SCA, who had created the SCA, the Steak Cook-Off Association. They would go to competitions. All the rules would be different for the different ones they went to. So they wanted to find something that was a little more consistent. So they came up with SCA. Everybody gets steaks provided. these are the rules. This is what you're judging on. This is the judging, the scoring sheets. And it made it a lot easier as opposed to, where you're going to something like a KCBS. I could have a brisket, for example. I could just have a regular Costco brisket, while the next person could have a Wagyu 800 day aged, prime brisket that they spent $600 on.
Right.
And that's not a level playing field, even though I can cook really well, or, I think I can, but even though somebody can cook really well, because you have that really nice piece of meat, it's going to be difficult to get good scores from the judges.
The smoking agent, the chips, that kind of stuff, is that all consistent? Is that kind of free reign? How does that work?
So SCA, the steak cooking is, you can actually cook on any heat source you want, whereas KCBS, it has to be a wood. You can, so that could be charcoal, that could be pellets, that could be straight up wood fire. But yeah, SCA, you can do it on any cooking surface. So there's guys that might sear it in a pan. It doesn't even have to have grill marks on it necessarily.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to check one of those out. I'm hungry here after this.
Yeah.
So I want to go back a little bit to the Tibmer Rattlers and just kind of get an idea about the sheer amount of food you guys go through on like a daily basis.
Yeah. This year we made it a goal to kind of keep track of what we went through and kind of post that and make it. We actually are going to make it kind of public knowledge. We'll like put a post out that has so we did Dime Hot Dog Night. I think we went through just under 6,001 hot dogs on Dime Dog Night.
Wow.
And we only had about 1,000 fans there that night because it was a little cooler.
Wow.
So I mean, everybody averages about 5 or 6 hot dogs. And at the end of the season, I get reports from my purveyors. I want to say we went through about 438, if I'm not mistaken, cases of hamburgers, which is 40 burgers per case.
Wow.
So I mean it's a lot of food, and that's for the whole season. But I mean, it's a lot of food that we go through. During the summer, like I said, I get 200 count cases every single day, 5 days a week, and that's just from my side of the kitchen. The picnic side and the other kitchen get about the same. So I mean, we get 1,000, 2,000 cases a week, sometime of food. So, and that's your waffle fries, chicken tenders, a little of everything, and then obviously the specialty items as well. So,
no, it's incredible, and you think of all the fluid that runs through there between the beer and the soda and the bars that you guys have, and it's just an amazing operation.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say this off the top of my head, there's probably 8 different places to order food and a dozen or so to order drinks and beverages. And that's, like I said, we have picnic areas, all you can eat areas. I have a club all you can eat up in the Fox Club area that's a little more gourmet. It's not your typical burgers and brats. Mm-hmm. We do a little more for that one, but
how is staffing? Is it I mean, obviously with the amount, that volume of food, I mean, you need people serving and all of the steps we've talked about. How is, this day and age, are you guys pretty well staffed? Is that a constant struggle?
Yeah, so we struggled coming out of 2021. Obviously we didn't have baseball that summer. I did do taxi squad, so the Brewers had about 20 players on the short list. If one of the big league guys got hurt or had COVID or anything like that, they would call somebody from Appleton and they would drive up. So I stayed and I made them food for that week or for that summer. Coming out of that, we lost a lot of our people who would return. One thing we pride ourselves on is we have a lot of staff that would want to come back year after year. And, from junior in high school to finishing college, they would come back and, T-Rats would be their summer job. Then usually if they graduate, some of them stay on, and it's awesome to have people who, are done with college who ended up staying on after that. So this year was actually a really good staffing year. I want to say we had about 178 or 148 new applications this year, just new staff in food and beverage. And it's always a struggle because you never know, somebody might just work a year and then they're off to college and they're going to stay in college over the summer. So they might not be back the next year. some of it's high school kids who, just aren't sure, where they're just testing the water, seeing what they like to do. Maybe their buddy got a job at somewhere else and they're going to work with them there now. Yeah, I would say staffing is good, but we always need good candidates, and it's a fun place to work, especially if you we have a lot of people that work for us that want to go into sports management
Okay.
or something to do with sports. And I always say, I have people in the kitchen that want to do that, and I said, work in the kitchen a year, and then if you want to do an internship, I want to say we had 15 to 17 internships this last year. We had
Yeah.
4 in food and beverage alone. I had a sous chef intern, and it's a great, a great opportunity for whatever department you work in. There's always an opportunity for an internship there.
Yeah, it's the cool thing about minor league sports for sure. You're always at the ballpark, and yeah, even if it's not a traditional job that you think would involve baseball, like a chef. I mean, who would think you'd be in minor league baseball? But here you are. So I got to ask. I mean, we've talked. Like I said before, I'm starving, so I got to ask you what do you? Well, a couple of questions. One, you're sitting at home on a Saturday night, and January. There's no baseball game. What are you cooking for the family? What's your go-to or one of your favorites?
So I mean, I do grill all year round. As long as the temperature is above 10, 15 degrees, I'll still grill. My kids actually love ribs and chicken wings.
Yeah.
So I'll make that anytime for them. I like to do a lot of Asian fusion meals as well. That's kind of one thing I've always liked was Asian cuisine. So I'll do like just a fried shrimp and maybe some noodles or rice, a bunch of veggies in there. Try and eat a little healthier.
And if we take that same question over to the ballpark side, what have been? I mean, we talked about your creativity. What have been some of your favorite just dishes out at the ballpark? Whatever stand, whatever part of the ballpark we're talking about.
Yeah, so this year the show sandwich was our food fight winner, and if you got out to the ballpark and you haven't had it, we're gonna keep it on next year. But you gotta try that. It's a bacon and cherry jam, cheddar cheese, a 6-ounce fried chicken patty that's almost as big as the bread, and it's on sourdough bread. And I mean,
wow,
it's so good. It has that sweet, it has that tart, it has the cheddar cheese is really good on there. It has a little sour from the bread. And then the huge Breakbush fried chicken patty on there. It's phenomenal. And that was a food fight winner this year. And it's something you hear and I'm like, yeah, why didn't we try something like this before? We make the cherry bacon jam from scratch as well. It's not something you can find in the store. So I was a little leery on it. And one of my line cooks, Bree, she made it one time. I'm like, this is awesome. You're making it all the time now. I mean, the consistency was good. I had it one time where it was too runny. I had it one time where I didn't watch it, and I may or may not have turned it into a solid lump of bacon and cherry. But yeah, she just got the consistency right, and I'm like, all right, you can make it all the time. So, and she does a great job with it. But yeah, we sold hundreds of them this summer. You can never go wrong with a brat with all the fixins.
Yeah,
I love our Throwback brats right out of Manitowoc, Wisconsin, my hometown.
Yeah,
excellent. I love that. Do you guys, all the chefs in the Midwest League, all the clubs, do you guys have friendly competitions of whose food is better than whose?
So it's kind of funny. I've yet to meet any of the chefs for the other teams. And I know with social media, you think like I should just reach out. I think that'd be fun. What we actually talked about doing in years past, so we might try and do it this upcoming year. We're going to take a food item, a menu item from every team we play. We tried Burger of the Homestand. That went okay, but we're going to try and do where, so say if, let's say Beloit, for example, the Sky Carp.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they have just a signature hot dog. We'll put that on our menu for the week and try and push it out to social media. So we're going to do a little bit of digging this year. I think we're going to do a little research and come up with some different ideas.
I like that.
Yeah, maybe some opposing team foods to put on there. Yeah. I think it'll be fun and creative. Plus, if you have teams, fans from other teams, maybe that'll be something like, hey, we can get this in Appleton, Wisconsin. It's our favorite thing that we get, at their home.
Absolutely. That's an easy ride from Beloit up here. Come have some home cooking in Appleton.
Exactly. Yeah.
So do you have any, do you talk at all with like the brewer chefs and have any tie-in with Miller Park, or I should say American Family?
I think it'll always be Miller Park. There's going to be people that always slip up. But so I've done so the guy that Malad, who I get my meat from, they actually provide some products for them for the brewers as well. So I've actually gotten to meet the chef at one point. Again, yeah, I don't really do a lot. The only thing I do with the brewers is regarding team meals and nutrition. So I meet with the nutritionist from the Milwaukee Brewers usually once or twice a year, and she'll just kind of help put the menu together, and we'll just go over how's it going, are they eating it, what do they like, what do they not like, and that's kind of an interesting part of the job too, is just know how much there is that goes into feeding the team.
Sure.
I remember when I first started, and they used to just eat burgers and brats and whatever they wanted, chicken tenders. And then shortly after I started, they would do a set meal, set menus and stuff like that. So the strength and conditioning coach would work with me to do the menus and really limiting dairy. Not a lot of butter on stuff, obviously, not a lot of cheese, which is really hard because it's Wisconsin. Heavy veggies, and you'd make a meal and everything would come back. So then we had to try and revamp it, where how can I make this product and make sure that they're actually getting their veggies, make sure they're getting what they need to the carbohydrates and things like that. So it was, and then we still have the same things every year, where you get a new batch of players in, they're young. When you're 20 years old, are you going to eat it? Not a lot of 21-year-olds eat veggies. So outside of Doritos, I think it's a corn chip. I don't think I know that, but that's about as close to veggies as they get, right?
Do you ever do any home? Do you ever do any home cooking for? I mean, the players, if people aren't aware, I mean, some of these guys are coming from all over the world, literally, to play. Are you kind of engulfed in some of their culture and cooking special meals for some of the guys?
So we've tried. So when they order the meals, they do it for everybody. And this year actually we started boxing up our meals. So we'll do two different options. We'll do maybe a steak and a chicken, or we'll do a salmon and pork, for example. A few times we tried different items that were like we did arepas one time, and I did like a avocado sauce and different things like that, and it doesn't go over as well as I had hoped. And even the nutritionist had said, try and do stuff that everybody's gonna eat. But I love cooking different cuisines, like from all around the world.
Sure.
Like I said, especially Asian is one of my favorites, and there's so much to choose from in different cuisines, where you have to make sure everybody is going to eat it, which doesn't always happen. But I would love to do different specialty meals. One of our interns was from Venezuela, and we had talked all the time about teaching me how to cook different like empanadas and different things like that. So,
well, the team's eating schedule, are they eating like pregame meals because they get to the ballpark pretty early? Are you feeding them before the game, then after the game, or what is their eating schedule, I guess?
Yep, it's before and after. So they'd usually eat a pregame meal around 2:30, and then postgame meal we have ready into the 8th inning. That they have ready. You never know if they're gonna have a bottom of the 9th or not.
Right.
And now with the pitch clock and everything, and the extra inning rules, the games go a lot quicker. So they're not eating at 11 o'clock or midnight like they were 5 years ago.
Right.
They're eating at 10.
Oh, yeah.
Still a late dinner, but I mean, they have meals available. Same thing with breakfast if there's a day game. They usually get catering for breakfast, and then we'll do the post game meal. There's times where towards the end of the year, I'm like, hey, they had a good season. Maybe I'll do a steak dinner one time, or I'll do ribs and mac and cheese. So it's not always really strict with the health guidelines and paying attention to that stuff. We have a little leeway as well, so you can treat the guys every once in a while.
That's awesome. I'm sure they appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're in October. Tibmer Rattlers are obviously not playing right now. So what are you guys doing right now? I mean, obviously preparing for next season, and you're taking a look back at the season.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So after the season ends, everybody on our front office staff, we compile a list of the season review where we say what was our highlights, what were the lowlights, and just what do we want to do for our department. So we spend 2 days in meetings going over that, and it's really a great experience because you get to see, you know, I can look at other people's jobs from a different lens as they can. When you're in it every single day, you just get by. You don't really take that in-depth look to say what can I improve. So this gives you the chance to hear what other people see, as well as really let you do a little critical thing on like, okay, what can we improve from the season. So we do that for 2 days, and it's a lot of great information comes out of that. And then we're busy with banquets and catering. We have weddings pretty much every Friday, Saturday that we don't have baseball.
Wow.
A lot of holiday parties are starting to come in. A lot of corporate business, different lunches. We're the new home of Clubhouse Live every Monday night.
Okay.
And then planning for next season, and that really starts. Day one of the off season is we really start talking, cleaning up, obviously from the season, closing things down. We deep clean all of our stands and get them ready to be winterized, and
Okay.
it's a lot of cleaning. That usually takes about a month on its own.
Wow.
But then, coming up with different menu options. And we just, right now is a stage where we're just in the office together and we just kind of start chatting about it. Like, hey, here's an idea. What do you think of this? And then after the holidays, when the new year comes, that's when we're really start to put pencil to paper and, line things up. We'll do food tastings, and then we'll do, really start menu creations. We'll look at pricing. Food prices have gone up dramatically in the last 3 or 4 years, and we see it too. But at the same time, we don't want to. We're family friendly. We're very family oriented at Tibmer Rattlers. We want to stay that way. We can't just say, oh, all of a sudden tomorrow, all burgers are going to be $17. All brats are going to be $11. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure it's still affordable for the family of a family of four, to be able to come out and have a good time. So, I mean, staying within reason, look at pricing if we have to. But any menu changes, dietary guidelines and things like that. Just updating a lot of desk work and paperwork. So,
okay. I tell you what, we've been sitting here and you were talking, and I think one of the things we have to see after the season is a Midwest League throwdown between all the chefs.
That would be awesome.
I think we could have that out at the ballpark and have like a tasting where the community could come out. I think that would be a good idea.
Event.
That'd be a lot of fun. And we can even make it a fundraiser. I mean,
there you go.
I think that'd be awesome. We talk about it a lot where, it's competition, but it's camaraderie as well. And that's the biggest thing. That's the reason I got into barbecue and steak cooking is not. I mean, I'm not going to win $1,000 on a steak I cook probably, but it's meeting these people, talking to them, and making friends. And I think that's exactly how you could. And a lot of times barbecue cook-offs are for a fundraiser as well. This last Saturday was for the K9 unit and the police officers in Little Chute. So.
Oh, all right.
That's the common thread, isn't it, amongst all us humans is food.
Yes, it really is. I just had a conversation with somebody the other day. We were talking about a restaurant, and it's like, oh, their seating is really close together. And I'm like, but that's how it's supposed to be. Food has been, and especially in France, where you would sit down at a table and you would talk to the people next to you. They're complete strangers, but you have the love for food, and it's something that can really bring people together.
Agreed.
So I also hear that you have you and I both have a love for like bourbon barrel stouts. I heard you like some of the dark beers.
I'm slowly getting into bourbon barrel. I was at Hop Yard here in Appleton, and they had an Oktoberfest. It was really dark, and they poured it, and I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna like this. And I drank it, and I'm like, I could go for another one. That was really good. So they're growing on me.
Maybe you combine a little bit of that with your cooking, beer and barbecue. There you go.
So the Paper Valley used to host Grilling with Beer. That was I remember doing that a few times where you had to use the beer in your cooking. And a lot of times when I do barbecue, I actually do use beer in it in some way, shape, or form, just kind of hold true to the Wisconsin, especially in chili. That's my secret chili ingredient.
Yeah.
Is a can of beer. So
yeah, good call.
That's excellent.
Little tip for all the Newsa-Cast listeners.
Yep. Yep. My aunt would have me make her chili, and she always said to add a can of beer. So I added it to mine at home one time. I'm like, this is phenomenal.
Have you, I do the same thing, but I switch it up and seeing what I have. And sometimes it's an IPA, sometimes it's a brown, sometimes it's a stout. I kind of like the stouts in the chili. It brings a lot of flavor. It's pretty good.
Especially if you use like a brisket or something in there, like a
yeah, absolutely. Well, I tell you what.
I was gonna. Well, I was just triggered. Do you put brisket in your chili? What is your chili recipe?
I don't have a consistent one. But I will say my basic one. I do obviously onions. You can do celery if you want to. My kids hate peppers, so I stopped putting peppers in it. But I like a good green pepper in there. Some garlic, saute that together. And then I cook. I usually just do half ground beef, half ground pork.
Yeah.
My chili, but I've done it with brisket. I've done it, the white chicken chili. I've done it with chicken and a red sauce. But then, just a chili paste, tomato sauce, tomato paste, diced tomatoes, the kind of the usual. And then if I do noodles, they're always on the side. I keep them separate because some people like them, but you don't want to put them in there because then they're going to overcook and they get too big. But now I'm feeling I gotta make chili one of these days soon.
Well, I know after this weekend, man, we've hit chili weather, so that's why I'm ready to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Another